We are live. Welcome, everybody. Let me hop over to Instagram real quick because it should also allow me to go live here in just a moment. Boom. Now I click. See, I've effed this up the last couple of times, and we weren't actually live on Instagram when I thought we were. Okay, now it's telling me to end live video. Yeah, we are on Instagram. This might actually be the first time we are successfully live on Instagram. I thought we've been doing it for weeks, and I think I was effing that up. So live and learn. But welcome, everybody, to another Wine and Comics Pairing show. We are here with a very special guest, our third timer of all time.
One of our
Travis
faves.
Gibb. Yes, joining us once again. Woo, 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 woo. That was some feedback. So, as you were shuffling things around there. Travis White Claw Gibb, but we will reveal what his new rebranding is going to be when we come right back. But first, let's play our opening. Here we go, guys. Ooh. Welcome back, Travis. How you doing, my man?
I drank a White Claw one time. I know
You
I
drank
said it was
3 White Claws one time. I think it was 3 different
I think
flavors,
I had
right?
to drink a second. I don't know.
A
if
second,
it was
okay.
Yeah, I think
It's
part
sticking,
of
my
the
man.
deal was to drink a second. And I regret saying it tastes good because it did taste bad every sip after the first sip. So I guess the only solution, if you want to drink a White Claw, is to just go in the 7-Eleven,
right.
take a quick swig, and just put it back. Walk out.
You're done. You're done right there. Well, so many really disgusting, like whether it's food or whether it's beverages, like the really low quality, like shitty, processed, whatever the fuck it is. It's like the first bite or sip is never that bad because it's flavors. And you're like, you're coming in clean to it. And you're just like, ooh, okay, there's a lot going on there. Then it's settled. By the second sip, you're sort of like, oh, and I don't like any of what's going on there. Okay, never mind. We're done. It's too much. But yes, so Travis has been known as Travis White Claw Gibb since that episode. Right. But today he has brought on, as you can see, he is drinking wine on the Wine and Comics Pairing show.
Right.
And it is Sutter home, baby. Travis Sutter home. Gibb, you are here. Keeping it
Life
classy.
is a cabaret, my friends. Life is a cabaret.
There you go.
A Cabernet, I think you meant.
No. I said what I said.
And we are here before we get too deep into all the smack talk. We are here today to talk about Travis's hardcover graphic novel collection of Coins of Judas, the collector's edition from Band of Bards. The Kickstarter, which is going to be live until April 6th, is actually being run by Band of Bards. So this is, Travis, this is your first Band of Bards Kickstarter that you've been a part of. And this is your first Band of Bards comic that you have done, correct? The Coins of Judas was your first collaboration
with them. Okay. We did Holiday Spirits with them as well, but yeah, this is the first.
Okay.
But this Coins of Judas is a little special because it's the first book that hasn't been crowdfunded in the direct market. So,
okay, right.
It came out direct market without being crowdfunded. It is now being crowdfunded, but it came out direct market first.
Good deal.
Right. And I did pre-order all the issues so far that have been solicited for that. So I have them back there on my little bookshelf as single issue. And I don't get very many single issues from the direct market these days.
That's true.
That is something where it's like, it's to support people and or it's something that just looked like, in Coins of Judas, I think was a sweet spot for me because it was you, and it was like one of the first things that was coming through the direct market and hadn't been crowdfunded before. So, Granite State Punk was a comic that I also pre-ordered via the direct market every single time a issue is solicited through previews and whatnot, or through whatever the distribution is. I just ordered through my LCS, so I have no idea who's distributing it. But I go to the comic shop and I pick it up later.
Real quick, Travis. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead, finish. Go.
No. You jump in.
I just want to plug that shirt. Give us a preview of this shirt here.
I came represent the Coins of Judas shirt.
Very nice.
Actually, Dave, it's kind of a weird thing because right now, as the Kickstarter's going, you can actually pre-order the Gambler. So if you're an LCS person, you can do both. So you can order it from your comic store right now at the same time.
I saw this solicitation, and so my comic shop is one of the few that does this, and it's why I still order through them. So during the pandemic, I hadn't ordered through a comic shop in like a decade. Right. I'd been on Kickstarter, and I'd just been kind of going, Amazon, and going in occasionally to a bookstore or comic store and just picking up a trade, or like, browsing. And I'm like, I'm going to treat myself. Let's get a trade. But I hadn't done pre-ordering. I technically don't have a pull box at this place, because what they have set up during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I think comic shops need the support, right? It's like something everyone's hurting right now because we're all in lockdown, nothing's happening. So I'm like, let me see what I can do. And I found it's not far. It's like maybe a 15-minute drive from me, Golden Apple Comics here in LA. Mm-hmm. And they have a online every month. They post everything that's in previews. And you can just literally pay for it right there. It's like putting it in your cart, like in Amazon or whatnot. Right. And you pay for it all up front. And then when it comes in, it comes in. If it gets canceled, they refund you. If like later the publisher's like, never mind, we're going to resolicit some day that we don't even know when that is yet. So for now, let's just ixnay that. And so they'll refund me that. But I love that because it allows me to literally browse their website like it's the previews catalog and just find and it's one of my favorite things to do now every month. And I didn't realize how much I missed this, I think, is like, just browsing through and like check, put that in the cart. Of course, you put everything in the cart that you want, and then you look at the price, the total, and you're like, nope. Okay, what can I sacrifice? Right, exactly. What do I really want? Do or die. Let's really find out what I give a shit about. But yeah, so I think that, Granite State, Coins of Judas, I've been pre-ordering all of those, have been loving them. Coins of Judas specifically, this is a comic, and let's jump into this briefly right up front. So Coins of Judas is a comic. It is about the 30 pieces of silver up from Judas, the biblical Judas, what he was paid when he betrayed Jesus, and sort of the legacy of these coins throughout.
By the way, misunderstood character. That's all I'll say. Go on.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
No, although let's stick with that. Like, so I'm a Christian. I actually am a certified pastor. I think I haven't renewed. I haven't paid to renew. I actually am a pastor.
I never renewed.
Yeah, there's a due you have to pay every year. I met with the guy a few months ago, and he said, "You're still a pastor." I was like, I pay my dues, so I don't know.
I'm sure God's somewhere like, wait, there are dues?
He's like, no, you're off the hook. You're off the hook. But I always in rooms, like amongst other pastors and other leaders, I always would go. Judas is my favorite disciple, and that is always like, what? Oh, yeah. And I'm like, dude, the guy got to eat. Like, he's at the final table. Like, he is welcome there. Like, if that to me is the definition of Christ. Absolutely. The guy who's going to betray you is welcome at the table.
Is welcome at the table.
That's way better than any other those guys did. Like, F those guys. Like,
it's such a dynamic, dramatic character alone, right?
Right. So all that stuff. And like when I read the passages, particularly of Judas, like I resonate. Like, dude, why are we washing your feet, dude? We could be spending that for the poor. I'm like, how should we be spending that for the poor? And Jesus is like, you don't understand. I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't understand.
Right. Judas is like, hey, I just paid my dues, bro.
Right. I mean, he gets a bad rap, every time he's referenced Judas the betrayer. That's kind of rough. Every time someone writes about you, you get a bad rap.
Right.
He was
and to your right. Well, and to your point, even in the comic, you touch on this, which is like he regretted it almost instantly. Yeah. Right. And it's like, which is such a human thing, which is like, yes, you made a terrible decision. You were swayed by, so many different things. Like, you're already kind of emotionally in a bad place because of your relationship with Jesus at that moment. Then someone's offering you money, and that is really tempting. And it's like those stars align, you do the terrible deed. Then you're like, shit, that was a terrible deed. I'm so sorry. And recognizing that, but that also goes to the whole Christian concept of God and Jesus, number one, like letting humanity make mistakes, letting them do what they're going to do. That's a part of living. And it's not like you are condemned forever and ever and ever. You're still I know what you're going to do. You're still welcome at our table. It's like, it is that element of like, that's the point. You will be terrible.
On top of that, it was the role he was born to play.
right?
You know?
Right.
He's got thousands of scholars for thousands of years debating whether or not free will's self. Because if Jesus can predict that he does it, is free will really a thing? Like, can't have both.
Well, you can.
Biblically, you
I'm
can.
gonna argue.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Really.
I'm gonna argue you can. I'm gonna argue. So I'm gonna say, and here's the thing. And I think I might have mentioned this on another one of these shows, so I won't go too deep into it. It's one of my favorite, but this is some fate versus free will from our POV as human beings who do not know the everything of the future. Even if you have one prediction, like, you know, when people like those movies that people go to a fortune teller, they tell them the day they're going to die, or, you know, some vague something, and then the person goes kind of nuts trying to avoid that fate, but of course trying to avoid the fate puts them into the fate.
Right.
That still doesn't count, because from our POV we don't know how we're getting there. Even if we know how the end result, we don't. So we still have to make decisions as though we have free will. From our POV, there is no difference between fate and free will. We're making decisions every second of our lives based on us, on who we are and what we're thinking, and how we're wired, and what we've learned and what we haven't, and our baggage and our biases, and that makes us make decisions. So we are actively making decisions that, even if everything is fated, even if there's a book somewhere where it's all written down, we don't know what's in that fucking book, and that whoever's writing in the book is probably writing it because, well, you have free will, that's why it's all going to happen like this, and so they're writing it down because of that. So from our POV, if you cannot know the future in intricate detail, there's no difference between the two things.
In terms of the front-facing individual, yes, but that, using the example you just said, the individual who is told that X will happen now has that as a part of the equation in their decision making. So even if they are afraid that thing is happening, that knowledge alone becomes a factor. So
yes, I think, a factor, yes, but
the idea,
but that's everything in life.
The difference between
but that's
fate and free, yes. But the idea that the difference between fate and free will is that negligible, of course, to the individual who's moving down the path, yes, it probably seems like one amorphous kind of just nebulous, you know, existence. But you know,
in practice, there's no difference.
If you know, fate, which no word I hate, is an actual thing, then it presupposes that there is a guiding principle, person, or thing that is orchestrating the entire thing. So in terms of that half of the equation, clearly you know, fate is a thing.
I disagree. And the reason I disagree, at least in the way that you just couched that, and the reason I disagree is for the same reason, like, we're born with certain brain chemistry and like body chemistry and whatnot. We're not as free-willed, quote unquote, as we think we are most of the time. No. Right. But just because there are mitigating factors, just because there's a plan and everything's written out somewhere, we are still actively making decisions. Even the decision to like, well, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. So like, you know, so nothing, like, that's still an active decision to make that. And so there is no fate. Everything is happening. We still have to make every single decision we're going to make, leading all the way up there, and we have to actively make it on our own steam. It's the same thing. I'm saying that there's no difference between them.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I'll probably give you that in terms of the front-facing, the individual, in terms of the person on the path. Yes, absolutely. There's no real discernible difference between, you know, I suppose you could say that you could say that one is subject to the notion of belief.
Sorry.
You know, one is subject to the concept, notion of belief, like believing in fate does sort of, you know, give you some sort of fuel. So,
right.
You know, it's a debate that will go on forever.
Well, but it's like the butterfly effect, right? Which is another thing where it's like we're making these decisions, but at the same time, the factors around us, what's affecting us and how, and what's bouncing off us to inform what decisions we're making, we have no control over any of that, or not really. Like there's so much that's, and one action we take now might not come back to bite us in the ass for 20 years. We don't know. And all of these things are the same thing as fate, in that sense that like once we've lived that life, someone could trace it all back and weave all the threads together. But that doesn't mean we didn't, right. But that doesn't mean we didn't have free will all the way forward. And what's the difference between that and fate?
Right. I mean, go ahead, Travis.
Go ahead, Travis, please.
Based on this conversation, the first thing we can both agree on, at least Dallas and I, Terminator 2 really spun Dave out of control. That no fate, looking for yourself. That when Linda Hamilton said that spun Dave nuts. like that's the first thing we can agree.
Well, I will say I don't disagree with that, but I will say for time travel, I'm all for time travel stories that allow for paradoxes as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that's fair game. It doesn't all.
I love paradoxes. They make everything else more interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and again, Dave, I don't disagree with you. I'm
just Terminator 3's existence, so that's fine. I'll accept the paradox. So Terminator 3 can exist and not fuck up everything else I love.
Right. Exactly.
So if it's written down at some point, though, it does on some level break free will, even if it doesn't break my personal perspective. So that means someone somewhere, because they wrote it down, if it happened before it happened, like in a timeline, again, assuming that time is linear.
Assuming linear, yeah.
Right.
Sure. Let me ask you this.
So Jesus saying that particular comment in theory could break free will.
For sure. Except Jesus said that comment and Judas still has free will to do whatever he wants with that comment. Right. And whether it is that someone, because let's say someone did write it down before it happened, but did they write it down before it happened because, even let's take time traveler, like you can see the future, right, type of a thing. So you see the future is going to happen that way because of these are the people involved. This is the world we're living in. They all have free will, but their free will make them make these decisions.
Right. It's going to lead to this destination. Yeah.
Right. And so it's a chicken or the egg thing right there in terms of, even if someone wrote it down, are they writing it down because that is what we're going to choose to do on our own steam? And they know that. And so they're like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what you're going to do, man. And you have free will not to, but you're still going to fucking do it anyway. And I wish I could make you not, but I know I can't. And so I think that's where the fate and free will thing becomes all this. It's not even just a POV. There's no POV unless we can know everything explicitly in the future, because then you can see something in the future, not let it happen, at which point, well, that proves it. There is no fate. Even if it's a time travel paradox thing where you're creating new timelines or whatever, that proves there is officially no such thing as absolute fate, because you just changed a future, right? But until that happens, I don't see I'll finish this. Sorry, go ahead, Dallas. Go ahead.
I think ultimately there's a slight distinction between the two. I do think they're nearly the same, synonymous. I think fate is the destination, and free will is the road. That's sort of the that's sort of the slight differentiation I make between the two.
I don't disagree with that. I just think when people say fate, they mean they have no choice.
Yes, no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Right,
That's generally,
and I'm saying, I think fate can exist explicitly because we have choice, and one way or the other, there is no realistic, to our knowledge, way in which we could have a POV where free will does not exist. Yet, because of things like butterfly effect, in a way, things are good. Like, it could be that everything is already everything's going to play out the way it is. We know it. We've seen it. But because we can't know that, that's why it's going to play out the way it's going
to. All right, now to pull this back.
Free will.
Well, hold on. I gotta go with the Jesus. Well, and to take Jesus stuff into account, we don't know if they told him Jinx betrayed you the other day. Right. He didn't say I prophesized beforehand. He didn't just go around.
Bobby down the street told me yesterday at the market.
And saying you're going to deny me. that guy has done it 4 other times in other situations. It's just what this dude does.
Yeah.
I know my friends.
Right. It's like, I know you, bro.
I know you. I ain't mad. I'm just saying.
Right. You still owe me $30, you know. So to pull this back, Travis, to the Coins of Judas, how did that sort of religiosity, that sort of background, propel you into this story? What was the sort of gnawing kind of sentiment, emotion behind this, building this story with the coins?
Yeah, so I've been wanting to tell a story with the Coins of Judas. Judas's life is fascinating to me, so he's always been a study of mine. He's such a unique character. Like, maybe I'm just the guy who always roots for the underdog, right? If you start saying like this guy is the bad guy, I'm going to try to prove that maybe that's something. That's why my favorite character is Magneto. Everyone knows that. Like, if you tell me he's too evil, I'm going to go, well, is he?
By the way, there's a great, I forget which issue it's in, but it's the Xavier sends Magneto back to the Holocaust, and it is the internment camp, the
Auschwitz,
yeah,
and it is the most. I just remember being so scarred by that. I was like, bro. That's a bridge too far.
Professor X a dick. Like,
that was like
everything that dude's done, like he's the bad guy.
I was like, oh, send him back to Auschwitz.
Well, that's what I love about Professor Xavier is like Magneto's already like a character that's super gray area, depending on which iteration of Magneto, because he was like more villainous back in the good old days, kind of a thing, but then became much more shaped because then we looked at what had been created and we're like, this guy's interesting. Like, and he's not wrong about a lot of shit. So let's look a little deeper into him. And Professor Xavier is like the flip side of Magneto, where he's like upright and heroic in appearance and in like lip service, but then he will break his own ethics and supposed like lip service morals all the fucking time. And you're just like, dude, I mean, who's the villain here?
He sent him back to the worst moment in his life. I was like, bro, whoa, so you're the villain here.
My favorite Magneto story is in Captain America. Like, it was an Act of Vengeance crossover.
Yes. I was just going to say that when you said that.
The Red Skull teams up with him. It's like, all the villains are teaming up. We should team up. And Magneto's like, you're a Nazi. Throws him in a pit with one bottle of water. It says, I'm going to let you slowly die and walks away. It was the best crossover.
It's a single issue. Acts of Vengeance was such a interesting concept. It could have been a total throwaway. So Dallas, Acts of Vengeance back in the 90s, if you're kind of unfamiliar with that, you might be.
That's not an era I'm digging. I'm big into.
It was like early 90s or late 80s or early 90s. And it was every superhero comic. They switch, all the villains got together and they're like, we're going to swap superheroes. So like, they're used to us, like X-Men are used to Magneto coming after them, right? Captain America is used to the Red Skull coming after him. So we're all going to swap who we go after and throw them off. And so they all went that way, but then they would have fun. Like there would be some writers who were really smart about it. Like whoever wrote that Captain America one where the Red Skull's like, okay, let's swap. And Magneto's like, I'm sorry, the fuck? Like you? Like you're my enemy. This is going down.
It's a dollar bin box. You can find it. You see Acts of Vengeance at the top and you see Magneto on the cover. That's the one.
Yeah. It's not all of them were that interesting. Some of them were pretty throwaway. One of them were really cool.
Is Doom going after Punisher? Like Doom steals Punisher steals Doom takes a painting and Punisher goes after him.
Oh wow!
Doom's like, what are you gonna do? I'm Doom. Like you're the Punisher. Like what is happening?
Right. It was fun, but it was. I remember that era because I was young enough then that I couldn't find. I think I was still buying comics. Either I didn't have the budget to get all of them, so like I really had to pick and choose, or I might have even been buying them off spinner rack still at that point. So it was like whatever I could find, and they were total randos. Issues and things like that, but I loved some of them, and others I were just like, what was that?
I have to find that series.
That's right. It's collected in trade paperback.
Sorry, yes, go Travis.
Yeah, go back to the origins of Coins of Judas. Just so I've always wanted to write a story in that, and I have a story. Everyone has their opus, right? I have an opus that I chip away at, and the coins were part of it. And I was like, can I take this part away and put it in something else, to do something else, which is what
story of my life.
Right.
Too
ambitious.
We cut it apart. It's because my opus is kind of like people. Yeah. People don't sell. Like people want people in costumes and cool things, and but it's just people, So it is what it is. So I took the Coins of Judas. There was a Mad Cave contest, so Mad Cave Writers Contest,
right?
For Wolvenheart. So I did a small Coins of Judas thing. I did the Children of Judas. So these children picked up, in this story, it was just the kids picked up the coins, they became evil, all the beggars, and then he hunts them. It's literally the open of Coins of Judas. But
I was going to say, it makes that opening make a lot more, even more, I won't say a lot more sense, but even a little more sense,
Yeah, so the Wolvenheart is, he's kind of like a time-traveling, like, hunter. So he hunted it. I got declined by Mad Cave. Band of Bards had an open call for Tales of the Static, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I retool this, make it my own thing, submit it to this thing? And I literally was doing it for a favor because Band of Bards was a brand new publisher. I just liked their vibe, and I was like, I could get in, and they could use my name to help level them up because I think that would really, because I had a little name at the time, and they declined it. Like they wrote in it, declined. I was like, oh, all right, cool. You're too good for that. Oh, we'd like to make it a series. I was like, what?
Oh,
nice.
Nice.
Too small. And this has happened twice now, like where I've got declined. I recently got I'm pitching to a bigger publisher where I pitched them something and they're like, no, it's not going to work. But pitch us other things. Have a phone call and pitch it. Clearly, I should not be scared of submitting because I feel upwards.
You get better than what you're even hoping for.
Right. So they agreed to it. We figured out a budget. Their budget could afford a 2-issue series. So we did the first 2. It was their best-selling book. And then we went and did the second one's coming out this year. There was some controversy in the middle. We don't need to go into that, but there's some stuff.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So Coins of Judas, first off, this is the first trade paperback is going to be for the first 4 issues. This already feels, we got to read 3 of the 4 issues. So the first 2 that came out as single issues, the first of the next 2 called The Gambler, which will also both be a part of this trade paperback. I remember when the first issues were dropping, you were saying it's a 4-issue series, but reading these, I'm like, no. This is much bigger than that. So what's your vision for this series?
As soon as it keeps selling, I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to do it in 2-issue arcs because it's a challenge for me.
Okay. Yeah.
You read Granite State Punk. Granite State Punk. So my philosophy with Granite State Punk is I think of what I would make a series and I make it an issue. And it's really, really hard, but that's the way I do it. So that's why there's a lot of exposition, but I also have fun with that exposition. So it works out fine for me. So I do that. For Coins of Judas, it's kind of the same thing. I was like, all right, you have to do a series, like a 5-issue arc and 2 issues. So you have to do it John Wick style. Like it's got to be guns, it's got to be violence, it's got to be stuff. You read the first issue of it. Like they're kind of like one shots, kind of like adventure, like doing things. So we just, every arc is a coin, and so every 2 issues is a coin. We kind of deal with that and go through that. So this trade has the 2 different stories, the 2 different coins situations that we deal with. And then we're adding a 4-page backup as well that's exclusive to the Kickstarter.
I will say that I guess that approach does 2 things in reading it, at least. The energy is just so consistent. Like it's a really easy read, but it also doesn't feel light or atrophied in any sense of the word. So it has weight to it in terms of the narrative and the story and the world building, but it also moves. Which is actually rather difficult to do. So good job.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a little hard. Obviously, in an ideal world, I'd love to be able to, hey, this random reference that I mentioned, this world building thing. I'd love to be able to explain that, but I don't. I haven't moved. But that also makes it a lot more fun because you're studying. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? It's like those. I remember when Midnight Sun started, like the old Ghost Rider stuff. Like, you didn't really know what was happening. You just knew demons were spawned, you knew Lilith was involved, you knew that these guys were called the Midnight Suns, and that's all the information you had.
Yeah.
And then random issues they'd figured out. And based on rereading it a couple of years ago, they didn't know what they were doing, but that's fine. I felt like they did at the time.
Yes, I mean, it was such a hugely popular series, especially the Ghost Rider one.
Yeah.
It was like that mystery. Everything was mystery. Everything was like, we're going to reveal it somewhere down the line. But then it was that era of Marvel, like with the Clone Wars and all that shit, where it just kept going. And you're like, do you have a plan, or is this all a lot of like really intriguing shit? It's funny though, Midnight Suns was something I was going to drop on this show of a comparison, because this feels like a proper Hellblazer, John Constantine, Vertigo style story mixed in equal measure with the Midnight Suns, especially the titles like Darkhold and things like that, where it's like, you know, the secret organizations and cults with that protect a object of power that everyone wants to get their hands on. And it's that, but with that, especially because you made them all, are they Irish or Scottish or Irish? So especially because you made them Irish, so it's got that, you know, very UK feel of those early Vertigo series where like everyone writing for them tended to be UK writers. And so all the characters were UK, all of them had that parlance and that type of lilt to what they were saying.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I was done.
I want to jump back here. You mentioned having to condense, you know, in terms of the world you're building and writing here. What was that like? Or do you consider yourself a pretty verbose and wordy writer? Are you the guy who does try to do the layers and the references? And what was that sort of that sort of experience of condensing? Because I will say, you know, reading your stuff, you're a reference heavy guy. You do like depth to your work, and so seeing what this ends up being and how sort of it still has great life and movement and electricity, but also is still a pretty solid and fully realized story. What was that sort of transition like for you, having to condense?
You know, it doesn't really bother me. I know it sounds crazy. I love, you know, writing a Grand State Punk where I get to vent and rave and like explain everything. But it's also fun to do what people love. You know, people love the manga type style that Coins of Judas has. It's got kind of stuff. So Tyler is an artist of that, so I have to lean into that. And those books don't have a lot of substance with that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there's incredible lore. You know, you look at Dragon Ball or Avatar or Death Note, or there's extreme lore, but if you picked up just one volume, you're just going to see most of the action stuff with a couple of hints, and it takes somebody to write it down on a Wikipedia to go, oh, that is way deeper than I thought it was, because it's hit. So I'm trying to emulate that. But I mean, this is my wheelhouse, right? Coins of Judas is a book I can do in my sleep, kind of, because this is the stuff I grew on. I grew up on. We've had enough interviews where Constantine is a huge influence. Yeah. The Ghost Rider, the Spirits of Vengeance, the things I watch. I was a huge Vampire the Masquerade, like LARPer and Werewolf. Like, this is the stuff that I know and love, and I've told stories in these type of universes forever. But I really wanted to make it my first superhero book. So superhero books are fun, right? They always have to be fun. I want you to have fun at Grand State Punk, but if you're not having fun, that's okay. Like, because I have a deeper bit.
Right.
But when you pick up a Coins of Judas, they're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to do silly things, like, and as the Gambler, we have that phone call situation. We have things like that happen that kind of break the tension and allow it to be a thing. And finding all those tropes, right? Oh, why are we fighting? You know, they fight for like 4 issues, and you've got to stop the fight to explain the plot again so they can fight for the next 6 issues. Doing that. So this is kind of me using my superhero chops, you know, trying to experiment of what I want to do when I get to a superhero book. It's disguised under a hidden indie book, but they're superheroes. They're just fighting supernatural things.
Right. Well, you know, one of my favorite things, because in both the first 2-issue arc and then in the first issue of The Gambler, you have a thing where it's like there's action, fight, and a break where they're like, let's stop. Yeah. And then they stop and they sit down. And it's not even just like we're going to talk for a couple panels and start fighting again. It's like, they completely stop, go sit down somewhere, and like have a full-on conversation. And I'm just like, that's brilliant. And it's one of my favorite. You don't see it that often in fiction, but one of my favorite TV shows from back in the day. Have either of you ever seen the Wise Guy show?
Yes.
From back in the okay, this was a 80s TV show. It ran 4 seasons or something like that, I want to say. And season number 1, I'm trying to remember who the main actor is. He's someone like Ken Wall or someone like that, like someone we know from that time period. But it was a undercover cop in the mob, like trying to, you know, take someone down. And he actually, in season 1, it's this whole buildup throughout the whole. And this was back in the day when like American TV did not do a lot of epic season-long plots or anything like that. Like they were very episodic. And Wise Guy was one of the few where it was episodic, but it was building to something in the season. Like the whole thing was one. Each season was a story. And that was rare for the time. But the thing that I loved, he actually winds up befriending the mob boss, you know, like a lot of things like undercover, like they wind up having a rapport, but it all culminates in the end where the second to last episode, there's a big throwdown, big gunfight, big everything. And the final episode, the season finale, was just the 2 of them in this movie theater, bloody and exhausted. And like, they can't fight anymore. They're both just like sitting in seats in this movie theater, just like half dead. And the whole episode is just them talking.
Yeah.
And they're just like having this conversation, and you're waiting for like, how is this gonna end? And because you know it's gonna end at the end of this. And there's so much there's both tension in something like that, plus depth of character and plot and everything. You get to have that moment while also, if you've broken the action to have this conversation, you know that's not the end of the story. Like you're like, okay, where is this going to go? And how much worse is it going to get? So there's this lovely element of both tension and better character and plot development that goes on with that. So I love that element of these first 2 arcs. And yeah, kudos to you for that. It's one of my favorite things that I always forget about until I see it again whenever a writer does it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Cheers. All right. So let's do this. Let's go check out that Kickstarter page. Sure. And then we will jump back over here once we're done with that. But let me share my screen and find that Coins of Judas tab that I got open. Here we go.
The Shutter House is
all right. Coins of Judas. What were you saying about Sutter Home?
What were you saying?
Sutter House is fantastic. Sutter Home is fantastic wine. I don't know.
Yes, Sutter Home is a lovely quick grab. Yes, lovely.
Quick grab. Okay. It's been a while since I've had a Sutter Home. I'll have to try it again. In my early wine drinking days.
They do solid.
Beautiful
daily wine.
So they are an upgrade from like Charles Shaw and Two Buck Chuck and shit like that.
I'm saying nothing else other than they are
okay.
wine that is readily available and gets the job done.
Is it the Bud Light of wines?
Look, we're going for sponsorship dollars here, so whoever's sponsoring.
Right, exactly. We love all wine equally. Can we just say that? We will find the silver lining to any wine we drink. All right. So we got here Coins of Judas, guys, collected editions. It is both of the first two issue arcs. So Coins of Judas 1 and 2 and Coins of Judas the Gambler 1 and 2. The Westergaard family, who are the Irish people protecting or trying to protect/collect the Coins of Judas. We'll get a little more into that as we talk about this. But their family traveled to the United States. That's in the Gambler story arc to learn the secrets of the Gambler, who is supposedly the first person to ever collect all 30 Coins of Judas at one time. And let's play the video. Let's take a look at this, actually. Yeah.
It's only 15 seconds.
Oh. Short and sweet, and just got your blood pumping, and it's over. Very good.
I want to make sure that
everyone
have 100% view rate. I want to make sure I have the view rate on the back of the
Right.
Kickstarter at 100% because you don't know when to shut it off, because by the time you realize you want to shut it off, it's over. That's
Right. So everyone goes to the end by the time.
Right.
I agree with that. You know, and Kickstarter always says they're like, you know, try and keep it within, I think it's like 2 minutes or something like that, which if you're trying to actually put information in the video, like walk through the tiers and the reward, fucking possible. Like you just, it's almost fucking possible. It's really hard. But if you are just like, here's a teaser, like it's a teaser trailer. Now go read down below if you want to know details. And that's mwah. Yeah. All right. So we got, and I did want to say they're almost there, almost at 4,000 out of 5,109 backers. They're only 1 week in though. So they have 3 weeks left to go. And yeah, you guys got until April 6th. So get on that shit if this looks interesting. But here we go. Exclusive hardbound and softcover collected editions. Free. You can read the first issue or free view. So if you click on that, I'm assuming that means no download, but you can read it wherever that takes you.
Yeah, it'll open up.
Global Comics. Yeah. Cool. I was just reading the link as I hover over it. There we go. And yeah, this was that image. I was talking to Travis earlier where I was trying to get an image of the hardcover for the thumbnail for this video. And because it's in this larger image and it's tilted, I was like, oh, it doesn't work with my template. God damn it. And so I had to come up with something special, but it actually wound up being a really cool thumbnail that I had to do. So yeah, thank you, Band of Bards, for forcing me to work harder. Because that, you know, you level up when you have to work harder and you're like, oh, I can't just plug and play. God damn it. All right. So backer milestones. All physical back. Okay, a free temporary tattoo. Yep. You know, every time I see phrases, I got to go back up. Phrases like that, it's always like all backers will get a tattoo. I'm like, ooh, good luck enforcing that one. But that's fine.
Yeah, we have one
exactly. Guy. It's like, just so you know, that's when you have like a terms and conditions when they try to pledge and they have to like check it off. All physical backers also get a free Coins of Judas themed Band of Bards sticker. So the sticker, but then the Coins of Judas kind of imagery kind of popping through the font there. Amazing. And the covers of the individual issues. So you can see here's the first two. And it was an artist switch between the first two and the second two. So you get to see a little bit of that as well.
He's been in the book the whole time. He's been the colorist for the whole thing.
Oh, the colors for the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, someone else, the artist for the second volume, but he's been in it since the beginning.
Gotcha.
And I'll probably switch it up with the next two. I'll probably switch it every two and just make that a thing. We'll keep the colorist and we'll switch it every couple of issues.
Cool. Beautiful. I do love this cover right here. That's a really cool cover.
It's very cool.
Number fun. Yeah. I mean, they're all wonderful, but that one is like that's the one that you stop and back, you know, you're walking past the rack and then you stop and you backtrack and you're like, wait, what's that?
What's this?
Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. My screen's totally froze. Go on.
Oh, okay. Well, here, Dallas, let me try this. Let me see. Let me remove him for a brief second.
No, you guys go on. My screen's actually screwed up.
Okay. See if that sometimes removing you and putting you back, if you freeze for us, that fixes it. But let me know if
David's fine. He's just drank too much wine. Like that's
probably
blind.
There's a little blurry. It's fine.
It's like, I don't understand. I can't see straight anymore. I can't understand what you guys are saying. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, this is crazy. What's happening?
Stories and samples.
Yeah, we show some of the sample pages, some of the action.
Yep. So this is from the first issue here.
Just 2 pages from every issue. We threw it up there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. First big bad right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So good. I will say, I'm gonna ask you a question as once we're done sharing this Kickstarter page. But there was one line of, I think it's in the second issue, so it's the first story arc, that was very curious, that I'm like, was that an editorial typo or is that hinting at something that is really curious? I'm going to risk it being an editorial typo and calling it out on the live stream, but I don't think it is. I think it might be something really curious, but I want to bring that up.
My wife does not make mistakes, so you're more than welcome to challenge it, but let's go.
And then this is from the second story arc here. This is
by the way, if you didn't know, all that place is real. Like the
nice.
Gambler, the origin of that. If you Google search that stuff, it's real. In fact, you can actually watch. I got the idea from it was that Unexplained with William Shatner. Like, I was like, there's a
nice.
really good story there of the Gambler. So it's a real Navajo thing. So basically, for those who don't know what the Gambler is about, is there's this guy who comes into this town. It's half Mayan, half Native American, and he beats them all in various gambling, from like dice to foot races to everything. And he eventually gets everyone to be his slave, and he makes them build these crazy, like weird design buildings that were not possible. And then one day they all disappear. And it's a true story. They found artifacts.
The people, not the edifices, right? Those things still exist.
Yeah, those things still exist.
Okay. It's like the people wrote about it, but nothing exists anymore.
Right, nothing existed.
Like, then did they?
It's like Atlantis.
Right. I was gonna say, is that like someone reading, like 1,000 years from now, reading Journey to the Center of the Earth and being like, and we can't find any proof that anything's at the center of the Earth anymore? It's like, yeah, that might.
Well, when you look over it, it looks like a bunch of circles, and I counted the circles, and I counted 30. So nice. I was like, I mean, we gotta go. We're
ding,
like,
ding,
let's
ding.
go.
Gorgeous. Yeah, that is cool. And you shared this on social media. This is in the 4th issue that we haven't read yet.
Correct.
But this really amazing rooftop fight that goes from page to page.
Yeah, it's a 3-page. They're going to be fold outs, so it'll be fold out.
Cool.
A couple page spreads that'll have fight scenes. Again, I want to do some neat stuff that I don't do in my normal comics, graphics wise and fun wise. Like, I want this to be fun. Like, this is what a John Wick comic would look like. He's slaughtering people and doing his thing, Yeah.
Gorgeous. Yeah, and I love it's like the chefs and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like at some point you run out of actual. It's like everyone.
Every floor has a different group that's sent after the. So we have musicians level, we have a Elvis level, we have the chefs level, we have
all the Vegas stuff,
prostitutes, we have the mobsters, we have the security, and let's go.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Timeline.
All right, and fulfillment begins around end of June for your fulfillment timeline.
You'll get this the same time you'd get at the store. So if you were getting the store, you'll get your trade when the second issue comes out at the store. So you'll get them at the same time. So if you buy comic stores at the end of June, you'll get your last issue. You'll also get the trade paperback at the end of June. We're trying to make sure that everybody, either audience, nobody's getting in advance anything, because we respect both audiences. We just offering them different things.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. And then $7 gets you the entire volume 1 PDF. That's actually really impressive. That's dirt cheap for how much you're getting in that digital edition. And then basic digital, the Gambler PDF digital print set. Oh, so with the digital print set. Okay. And then so $1 more for the whole digital print set. Early bird digital premium.
Yeah, you get another trade with it. You get basically 2 trades, which is cool.
Beautiful. And Magni the Mighty digital comic. Okay. Very cool.
And that's physical for A and B of the Gambler. So if you're not a comic store person, you can get it here and get it 15,
Right. So if you've already gotten the first 2 issues and you just want the next 2 issues, this is the one for you. Or the digital deluxe Coins of Judas collection softcover in physical for the same price. Up to you. Or
the one earlier, the $7 one it's a collected of volume 1 and 2 in like a volume.
Got it.
Right. Yep. All right. And then we've got or Coins of Judas, the first 2 issues physical.
Yeah. If you're a floppy person,
right. Beautiful. So basically you can mix and match these 4 issues or into the trade in virtually every scheme that you can conceive of. They're all here. You just got to look for what it is that you think you want based on what you know of the series. And then, of course, we finally get to I'm assuming this is the hard. No, trade
soft,
paperback.
Soft.
Yeah,
this is soft. So there you go. So this is the first one, physical, soft cover. edition at 25.
Yeah, and then there's a second cover for 25. We have a cover B.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then the early Bard, nice physical at $40, and this is the both covers,
both covers. Yep.
Yep. So a little money off of, and a coin.
Yeah.
Which of course you have a coin. I mean,
and of course it's limited to 30.
You gotta have the coin.
Ah, nice.
Limited to 30.
I was gonna say, like, do you plan to eventually have 30 Kickstarters and, like, you know, collectible? You'll finally get all
collectible each coin. There you go.
Right.
Yeah. So it's limited to 30 each, and 30 of them eventually. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Hardcover, and then the hardcover premium. So this is where you're getting serious, and limited to only 100 copies.
Nice.
And comes with the coin. Nice. And the coin was $50. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, beautiful.
And one of the things we're doing too, we're doing like the Marvel Universe guide. So in the back of the book, so the extra stuff we give for the Kickstarter is there's a 4-page backup story called The Clauses. So you know, because we talk about Judas, you know, Christ is a big part of that. So there is a group of assassins called the Clauses, perhaps the Santa Clauses that you've heard of, and they protect children. Because the demons, the 30 pieces of demons, get a little riley around Christ's birthday. Right. So these guys hunt you. They're another order that we're going to tell you a 4-page story of, and we have like a Marvel Universe guide. So every demon that's appeared, I'm going to tell you where it is, because each coin has a backstory. Nice. So every coin was to spawn the demon is based off the worst thing you could buy with that coin.
Yeah.
So that's what spawns the demons. Each demon has a name and has an origin story of what it was bought to make it a demon.
Right. Right. Cool. Yeah. And then this is where you start getting like all the little merchandise, all the merch, all the everything, all the bells and whistles. So box of Bards for 100, which gets you Grandma Tilly's Hell Tech Mech collection. I'm not even sure what that is.
You need to get it. It's so good.
Okay.
These are a lot of Bards.
Okay. So these are Bard collections. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Art print set, patch, pennant, logo sticker collection, and of course the premium trade paperback digitally and the digital print set. At 150, you start the ultimate. So this is everything.
Oh man,
almost.
Yep.
Oh, okay. No, this is Get Bands of Bards digital comics for life. Holy shit. So like everything they put out from this point forward, huh?
Yep. For life. They've committed for $250. You can get their digital for life.
That's impressive.
And they have it's about $250 worth of value. I would, knowing the titles that they have, it's probably about $250 right now is what it would be worth digitally.
Yeah.
But, you know, they have stuff coming out every year. They have a couple books coming out every month.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I gave it that, but you basically, what it unlocks is you'll get Global Comics. You'll get a free subscription to all of Band of Bards. So when they put it on Global Comics, you
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really, I mean, I'm a little...
That's impressive, actually.
On that one.
That's kind of the first time I've seen
I'm kind of a bit stunned. I noticed that no one's quite taken that one yet, and I'm wondering if people aren't quite sure about like what that is. Maybe they should like do an update or like banner wave it a little bit, because like that is really cool.
And I don't think I've ever seen that on anything similar on offer in this Kickstarter realm. So kudos. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's a cool value, and they they have exclusive books that they don't put in print that are exclusive to Global Comics,
right?
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and it makes perfect sense. I mean, you're buying into I dig it. Kudos. Yeah.
And as Travis mentioned, they have enough of a catalog already that you're probably getting that value up front. So you don't even have to worry really about like, well, what if they're gone 2 years from now? And it's like, well, you still you got your value plus some even then, like you're pretty much there. But I have not seen that either. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen it in comics in my life. And I'm not sure I have. That's really interesting. All right. About Band of Bards, if anyone doesn't know, you can read about them here. But they're about what, 2 years old now?
I think they just entered their third year.
Okay.
2-year heavily publishing though. I think the first year was kind of
Yes.
set up and building, but third year it's heavily publishing. They're very inclusive. They try to be a very inclusive company, so they try to include all walks of life to be part of their publications. To do various books, so they have everything from purity to Band of Bards. They have books. They have all sorts of stuff. They're both ex-military, so they're very passionate about being included and being heard. So they're two of the most interesting guys I've ever met. The owners of
interesting.
Where are they based, by the way?
Buffalo, New York.
Okay, cool.
And they are, I will say, probably one of the indie small publishers in comics right now that it's just like you never hear anything bad about them, like, ever. It's all love stories from people who have worked with them. So, and that's something. Like, that's not, as we know, that's not the easiest thing to achieve and to stick to and to manage. And the fact that they have in all the years that they've been around so far, with all the creators they've worked with, that is worth celebrating and spotlighting.
Well, and they don't do it anymore, but I want to say this: they paid me to make this book. Like, I get paid. My whole team gets paid. It's so rare.
Very nice.
And
I own it. Rare.
And it's so it's
right.
I own it, and they pay me.
It's the pie in the sky deal.
And it absolutely is. Yeah, I don't think this was pre-pandemic. When I signed the contract, now it's post-pandemic. I don't think they are offering those deals now. But it's not because they don't want to. I just
Sure. The reality, they can't. Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. I think that's why people like working with them so far. Is like, I'm sure they're being real about a lot of things. So it's like, yes, they'll do what they can when they can, or at the time where they thought they're like, okay, we can do this with a couple creators, and then it's like, okay, but this is like, we can't do it with every creator for the next couple of years because that becomes unsustainable, and we won't have enough product, and so on and so forth. So, being real is like, be real, and then everyone everyone knows what they're getting into when they're getting into it, and it's exactly what they are getting into, and la-di-da. I mean, that's great. And then some creators get even more out of it because they were in the right place, right time. And that's awesome. Like, do what you can when you can.
Yeah. I think, people don't understand that the pandemic, you said it earlier, you go to a website, you order your books.
Right.
Every comic store has done that. You said yours like previews. Most comic stores aren't like that.
Yeah.
You have to tell them what you want to order. So if you don't know what's out, you're never going to go in the store. You get it shipped to you. Right. So you don't get to see a Coins of Judas on the shelf and go, wow, that cover looks banger. I want to try it out. So they're slowly dying. And most of the things that are dying are the things that nobody knows about, like the indies.
Right.
And it's not because they're not good or high quality. It's that nobody's seeing them on the shelf. Yeah, so if nobody's seeing them on the shelf and nobody's buying on the shelf, comic stores are ordering less of them, because the foot traffic is a big thing. And that's why, lot of, you'll notice this new trends. A lot of bigger comic creators are going back to store tours. Yeah. So you'll see like, Chip Sadowski did Digital in Canada. It's really to go, hey, we need to get people back into stores so they can get used to that. Because there's nothing I love more than debating X-Men with my store employee. I love doing that.
I hate doing that, but okay.
I just love to talk about comics and talk about.
You would think I would love to debate, being how much I love to debate on the show, but shockingly, when the conversations in comic shops always, like, I'm always that guy who I'm sort of like, I hear it happening, I see the group doing
go the other direction.
Yep, and I'm like, okay, not going near that corner.
Nope. But a quick aside, we've been talking about the sort of pandemic realities, and I've been searching around, and I must be in the minority because I really long for my reality during the pandemic. The idea that I could go outside and there were so few people. The idea that I could go to a comic shop and there were so few people. Right. The idea that I had no excuse but to spend my hours in my apartment writing or world building in my own little bubble. Like, and people they would stay away from you because, the fear of death. Like, I long for those times. So, sorry, I just wanted to make sure I got that on record. But go on.
Why can't I kill people with my breathing anymore? Damn it!
Exactly. Or at least threaten them.
Right. I want to yell at people to stay on your yellow square.
Right.
Don't leave your square.
Yep.
That's how society should be orchestrated. But I'm in the mind.
I know. I think that's why I gravitated towards that online order system that my comic shop has, where I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. I get to browse the racks, quote unquote, right? Without actually having to go in and like spend an hour in a comic shop, which I think I have a very love-hate relationship with local comic shops where I grew up with them. So there's a part of me that will forever love them and forever have that nostalgia and forever have that connection to them. But at the same time, there's something about it where, that I think it's that Groucho Marx, like any club that would have me kind of a thing. There's just this element that I keeps me at an arm's length where I'm like, no. I don't want to belong.
Exactly.
I just want to partake. But then get out fairly quickly and unscathed. There is I am social and antisocial in equal measure, and it's always at war within me.
Yeah. I feel that. Like they just had our anniversary, and they had like a Robert Kirkman like Zoom call, and they're like, "You gotta go," and I was like, "I do not need to go." If I want to listen to Robert Kirkman, I will Google on Spotify Robert Kirkman and listen to him talk. At my leisure. I do not need to stand in front of somebody and go, what was it like to create the walkie? Like, that's going to annoy me. Like, I'm
yes.
trying to be an ego. Like,
no, I'm not in your club. I drop in when it suits me, damn it.
Right, when it suits me. Actually, the comic store makes fun of me. I'm indie superstar Travis Gibb. Like, that's the joke. That's on my pull list. So it's, I was like, I don't have time for you peasants asking your stupid questions.
I'm busy doing the heavy work of thinking here.
Right. I want to know when you will send me a contract, Kirkman. Until then, I do not want to speak with you.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's why we started our own damn show. Is I'm like, I don't want to listen to other, but like, we'll do it at our own pace, knowing who we're talking to. Blah blah. Like, I'm sure there's an element. Like, that's not actually why we started the show, but I'm sure there's an element of that in the back of my brain, right? Where it's just sort of like 100%. Control the situation and the social interaction that I have with people, and that suits me so much better than just whatever everyone's talking about. I'm just gonna join in on that, and I'm like, hell no.
It's like pulling teeth. Absolutely not. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But you know what? I do think the comic shops, though, as like because nothing stops you from going into the comic shop if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But having that type of online portal where it's like people can browse the upcoming, like do the pre-order, because pre-orders are so fucking important in comics that a lot of people don't even realize how fucking important they are, and being able to pre-order without having to have that stupid physical check, previews form that you're like literally checking or going in and like writing down all the titles on a piece of paper for your LC. Like you can browse, you can see what each thing is. I can then at my leisure, because it's not in a comic shop, it is online. I can see something that I'm like, that looks intriguing. I've never heard of it. I don't know. I've never heard of the company. I've never heard of the people who are making it. I'm pretty sure I think I want to order this, but let's even Google some of this shit. And it's like, you can go explore it and then make that final, especially if you can't buy everything that you want. You can then really dig into like, well, what is this? So I can know who I'm supporting and why, and who maybe needs the support more than others, blah, blah, blah.
All right. I'm having an idea here. I think we're going to do a sub series of shorts where we do pre-order episodes and then circle back once those come in and do a review. I think we've got something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll when something's up for pre-orders, we do our one episode, try and get people in on that, and then come back and actually read and pair it with the wine. But etc. Well, by the time most things are, go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
I do a pre-order show. You know how I do a couple shows. I do a pre-order show when I'm live. So I'll do one next Tuesday with other comics that are pre-order, because I don't think there's enough of that, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's the other thing I think is really good is to hold these companies accountable, right? Yeah. We just had a big thing with Scout. We don't need to go into that, but I ordered A, B, and C. Let's look at our chart. Oh, they're not shipping, but B and C publishers seem to be shipping. So maybe that's a publisher that we should be supporting.
Right.
And just facts. Like the books look good. We ordered it.
Right. Right.
You didn't shoot
Where are
it.
they?
What do you want
Yeah.
us to do?
Right.
I like
Right.
it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So before we take this off the screen, Travis, I know you're not running this campaign, but any last things we didn't cover that you think we should mention before we take this off the screen?
The only thing is, hardcover is only available for 100 on here. That's all they plan on doing.
Right.
Okay.
If you're a hardcover person, get the hardcover. Go ahead and do it. I think it's 95 out the door, which is a little much, but when you get the coin and all the other stuff that you get with it, it's definitely a worthwhile investment. There's there's a glow in the dark print that comes with it too. If you look in the credits, that comes with it. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. And if that's kind of your jam, I don't know if they're going to ever go back and do that because, you look at hardcovers in the comic stores, they don't sell that great. So I don't think that's going to be in previews at that stuff. So that'd be my only thing is if you're that type of person, you need those prestigious stuff, go ahead and do it. And, I plan on having more volumes of this and it's going to be fun. It's a wild ride.
Sweet. Amazing. All right. Stopping the share. Back to the main screen. All right, Dallas. We're going to get to the wine pairings now and announcing what we decided to pair with Coins of Judas. It's your turn to go first. So let's do.
I believe it is. All right. So if it's not clear, I really like the series. I think, the things you do very well are keeping the narrative buoyant, keeping the energy, the pacing. It is a page turner. It also has some weight. It's rooted in, sort of common mythos and lore. So you're definitely ticking all the boxes. It's got great cinematic potential. For sure, there's a television series in this bad guy and this guy. I just really enjoy it. So I knew I wanted something that kind of lightened the dark tones of this, and because it is dark in a sense, right? It is sort of rooted in some darkness and some demonology and all that stuff, but at its core, it is a sort of like survival story of these sort of kids, for lack of a better term. And I didn't want to go with a red because I think a red is just too on the nose. I wanted something that was sort of complementary.
Hey now.
Something that was sort of complementary that would, while also adding a counter note to the sort of darkness, also kind of give a sort of a parallel to some of the sort of lightness in the piece. So I went with a white. And I knew I wanted it to be sort of dry, not very bold, but high acidity. Generally, with certain whites, you can get that high acidity, but you can also get sort of stone fruit notes. I knew because of the sort of rooting of this world, I wanted some of the notes to kind of mirror the notes that Judas himself would have perhaps been accustomed to in the diet of his time. Which is a ridiculous thing now that I'm saying it out loud, but
the Last Supper was a white.
Right. Yes.
What?
The Last Supper was a white. The Last Supper was a white. Damn it! That's the title of
why Jesus has always been portrayed as a white guy because he drank white wine.
Yeah.
Everyone else is Arabic, but white wine drinker.
I'm here to solve all the mysteries of humanity.
At that time period, it would have been an orange version of a white, though, because it would have had skin contact.
But a white,
which is, yes, a white nonetheless. For those who aren't aware, orange wine is actually white grapes, also on white skins, and that like a red, and then it becomes orange. So yeah, that's what it would be back in that day.
I knew I wanted some honey. Honey was a sweetener of the day, of course. I would love something with a honey note.
And milk and honey.
Yeah, something that had a little stone in it, a little minerality that was kind of at its core.
You don't mean something with actual honey added. You just mean a honey note.
No. Right? I'm talking about the note.
Okay.
Although, now I think no.
I know. I was going to say, I thought that's why I was like, I was like a mead? Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I've done a mead before, but no, not this time. And I knew I wanted something that also has. It was a little idiosyncratic in that it was kind of unique, off-putting to most, maybe, but for people who are really into this particular um, grape, would really satisfy them. So I went with a Blanc de Noir from Paul Anheuser. Here it is a full Pinot. It is German from the Nahe region. It is honestly really, really satisfying. It just, every mouthful, every pull is slightly different, but really kind
Is
of
that
just
made,
resolves.
Dallas? Is that made with Pinot Blanc, or is that just Pinot Noir, no skin contact?
It's a Pinot Noir, no skin contact. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is their Blanc de Noir. And yeah, I love it. It is surprisingly, and I hate saying that, but it is surprisingly satisfying. And it's only $15 a bottle, which is crazy because it does feel a little
expensive.
Yeah,
I mean, the only trigger word that I heard is a German wine when we're talking about Judas. Other than that, I'm
well, you know, like I said, idiosyncratic.
Well, when you said a little hint to dark, you meant real dark. All right.
You know, I like the darkness. What can I say? Yeah, that's me. That's my guy for sure.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I did choose a red. So on the nose, thanks, Dallas. But I chose an on the nose wine that is the Pinot Noir is part of its parentage, its heritage of where it came from. But I went for, so, you know, much to what Dallas mentioned, like there is, and as I mentioned also, this is like Constantine meets the Midnight Suns from Marvel back in that era. Like it definitely feels like a nice little mesh of the two things. You've got that slightly more adult themes, that little bit of darkness, but in that pulpy superhero vibing way where it's still fun and freewheeling.
Yeah.
It's still, you know, it moved like now I don't remember if Dallas said this or you said this specifically, Travis. But I agreed with it, whoever said this, but it moves. It's like, it's got a lot going on to it. It's got the biblical references. It's got the different demons. It's got a lot of world building, like lots of world building to it, which we only have a fraction of. And yet when you read it, it's just go, 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 go. This comic does not, and we even mentioned how it stops and they have conversations. It still doesn't feel like it's not go, go, going, like at all times. And that is one that's always a trick to pull off, but it needed something that you can't just have a wine that's going for the light and freewheeling element of it. And you can't just have a wine that's going for the darker demonic horror elements of it. You can't just have something that's pulpy either. You needed something. I needed to find something that I'm like, it's kind of harmonizing these different elements where it's like, it's got some body, it's got some darkness, it's got, but it's also like, it's fruity and it's juicy. And like those things that make it just so drinkable while having some something to it that's going to slow you down here and there with just that, like, wait, what is happening? Like there's a lot going on. And so I went with a grape that is a hybrid. The parentage, it's Pinot Noir and a grape called Cinsault, which is spelled Cinsoult, but, you know, kind of a silent T. So Cinsault. And these two, this is a fascinating grape because Pinot Noir and Cinsault are both grapes that are known to have like this medium to light body and color to them. Like they're much lighter. They're both really kind of light in color, lighter, medium light in body, medium acidity, all these things, like, and very complex. And then they parented them together and just created this dark motherfucker of a grape, which is the fun part of grape parentage. I guess it's a little bit like human parentage, where it's like, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that's your kid. You can see both of you in them, like to a T. And other times you're like, I'm sorry, where the fuck did that come from? You two? Where, like, how did this come out of you? And this is definitely a how did this come out of you? Like, when you know what it was made from, you're like, how? It's nothing like either of those two fucking grapes. But this is a Pinotage.
No.
And it is the national grape of South Africa. I went with this, the Winery of Good Hope Pinotage. It is so not only so I kind of wish I knew about this wine when we were doing the hospice stuff, because isn't that such like a hospice title? The
yes.
Winery of Good Hope.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love that it's called that. But it's also a full berry fermentation Pinotage, full berry, otherwise known as whole cluster. And what that means is when they take the grapes off the vine, they take all the stems and twig, everything with it, the seeds, and normally you push the grapes and the skins out, and you take all that other stuff out. You like filter those things out, and you push all the juice through a mesh, and it's like all the rough materials, the coarser materials, the physical materials go away. And in this one, you just take the whole fucking cluster, all the wood, all the seeds, all the everything, and you ferment it all together. So you get all that extra woodsy elements, you get all that extra kind of like rough flavors that go in with it. And Pinotage as is, it's a darker, more purplier wine. It's definitely got some body, kind of low to medium acidity. There's some acidity there, but not a lot. It's very juicy. It's very fruity. That whole berry fermentation gives it a lot of something extra going on. And then Pinotage is also infamous. It's the national grape of South Africa. And even South Africa is on record as being like, guys, it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
We're getting give it some time. We're figuring it out as we go. They have gotten much better. I think in like the last 5 years, it's really starting to come into its own. In the past, a lot of wine drinkers have been like, what the fuck is this? Like, I can't get into it. And one of the things that a lot of people can't get into with Pinotage is it has what is often described as a burnt rubber aftertaste to it. And that is something that comes, it's like part of the grape. Like, it always comes. But if you know how to make it well and you grow it well, it can be a tiny part of a balanced range of flavors.
And if you aerate, if you give the bottle some air, it really does dissipate over time.
100%. And I believe this bottle was something like $18.99 or $19.99. So it's also not super expensive. There's a lot of really great Pinotages now, because it's still kind of an unpopular wine, where it hasn't really been embraced by the wine community as like the great wines of the world yet. They're affordable, and that's lovely, because we're in a sweet spot right now where they're getting fucking good and they're still fucking affordable. So I highly recommend trying to find a Pinotage. You'll probably have to go to a wine shop or a Total Wine or a Bevmo or something like that will carry enough product that like a Pinotage will be in there somewhere. It's probably not going to be at your grocery store. I don't think Trader Joe's has had them in the past, but they don't currently right now. It's a rare enough grape still that you don't find it everywhere. But this is because of that. You got that burnt rubber aftertaste that just always makes me think of like, horror and demons and like that sulfur element to things, where it's just sort of like there's an element, and it's like it's that aftertaste where you're like, ooh, that's kind of a burn. Like, that's kind of a little piece that you're like, if it's dialed down enough, it works really, really well with all the other flavors that are going on in the glass. But this one I highly recommend. This is a delicious. I think that full berry fermentation really takes it to another level. There's so much going on in the glass. It's got the depth. It's got the complexity. It's got the fruity and juiciness that I'm looking for. It's definitely more on like that black plum and like black currant flavors that are coming through with that hint of burnt rubber in the back end. And that's my pairing for Coins of Judas, man.
I'm not a cigar guy, but that sounds like it would be a good cigar one, right?
Actually, yes.
I suspect. Yeah.
The jammy, dark fruit, juicy thing would complement like a heavier cigar very well. Yeah.
So, Travis, as always, we always want our guests to shout something out comic-wise, something they've been enjoying, something they want to spotlight. Yeah. So what would you like to shout out today?
So I'm gonna do. I'd like to do two. I'd like to do a mainstream book because I don't feel like comic creators talk about mainstream books, and when they talk about them, it's always like mainstream sucks. I haven't read a good job for 5 years. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Well, you did a Spider-Man once, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think the first time you were on the show.
I'm very passionate about mainstream comics not being bad. So Venom and Carnage right now are fighting for together, but they're very different versions of Carnage and Venom. So Venom is taken over by his son Dylan, but it's a Venom Cenobite, so it has all the memories. And then Carnage has just been reincarnated, but there's another version of the Carnage Cenobite that is wrecking havoc, trying to get as many powers as possible. And they're fighting, and it's just this beautiful thing of like Carnage being this massive like really upsetting Dylan because he's a little boy, like going like, you can't be murdering all these people because he's never called Carnage, but also pointing out that Venom used to do this and bringing up some deep cuts in the Venom universe of like the first thing he does when he gets Cenobite, if you guys don't remember, he kills the security guard that comes into the church, just also murders him, and then he murders people for a good 5 or 6 years before they're like, way too many people like this guy. He's got to
right.
people. Maybe stop eating the brains thing. That's going to be weird.
Yeah, the eating the brain things. I often forget about the eating the brains thing.
Right. You see brains. That used to be a thing. So maybe we should slow that down and make it a little bit more popular since the kids are loving them. So, let's do that. But yeah, that's that is my recommendation for that. And then my next recommendation.
Who's writing that story, Travis? Who's currently
her
the
name
big
is
Venom writer?
Thorin Garnerbuck, and may not be saying it right. Thorin Garnerbuck. She's actually from Norway. She's actually like a true Viking. She's like coming from a Viking.
Right.
She did Thor, and I didn't enjoy it, but it's because. You ever know someone who just loves the subject material too much?
Yes.
Oh, you want to teach me things.
You're like dragging it down
lesson
now.
rather than
Right.
She was one of those. It wasn't that it wasn't good. I'm just sure it was historically accurate. So I'm like, this is way beyond me. And this is the first thing that I'm really like,
I gotta look that up. I'd probably be into it.
Yeah. She took over when Donny Cates took off. She took over for a little bit to finish stuff. And by the way, she's such a blessing. It's so funny. About 5 years ago, she was in the indie scene with us doing shows like this. And I refused to go on shows with her just because she's an attractive woman and people would goggle off her. And I just would always feel awkward, like being like the other guy. And I was just like, I'm married. I don't want anything to do with this. You guys do that. Like, so I really think I admire her from afar because I was like, I never got to know you. Yeah. You leveled up. And I chose not to know you just because of the peers that I was associated with. And all those guys are gone.
That's
too.
a shame.
So that says something.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend Blister because we like punk rock. So this is by Eric Crockle. He does a graphic novel. He's coming back out in April. It's a small little. It's kind of cartoony. Can you see that? Yeah, it's kind of cartoony.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I love that shit.
Yeah, you absolutely love that stuff. Based on a lot of good stuff. But it's a punk rock book in kind of that style. So it's got kind of the punk motifs and things like that. So it's about a kid in his band just trying to make it through the world and trying to be punk rock, but he's not very punk rock. But some of his friends are punk rock and finding the levels of that. And I really love it. I think more people should read it.
All right. Blister. Shit. Hold on.
Add that to the list.
I'm writing that down.
I know.
Writing that down. Blister.
And which Sutter Home vintage are you? Was it a Shard?
It's Chardonnay, Savant-Garde. I can't say these things.
That's impressive.
No, it's not my thing. There's red wine and there's white wine. That's what you drink.
Yeah, that's all you need to know, honestly.
Yeah, the cooler the bottle is the one that you'll like the most, which is not true, by the way. I dated a girl who drank wine regularly. But in my assumption, if I'm picking, the cooler the bottle,
that's
the
right.
more likely you are to be bought by me. Doesn't mean
honestly, yes. People pick wine based on the label.
On the label. Oh, that's why they spend so much money on the label.
That's why the label started
like designing it and putting it out there. Is they're like they know. People judge a book by its cover. Everyone fucking knows that. No matter how much we say otherwise, we're like,
the different vintages are great. They are really responding to shelf, attractiveness, like the thing they're reaching for. So yeah.
But the drink
Well,
I
you know,
will put to it, I have a drink that I'll put together.
Oh.
It's a beer because I'm a beer guy.
Okay.
That's from Utah called Polygamy. It's
Nice.
called Polygamy.
Is it an IPA?
It's a stout, actually. It's a stout. It's a
Stout.
really good stout. And you think it's a
Polygamy
joke. You
stout.
can get it here too at certain places. And it's a very what's cool about drinking beer in Utah is they have a low alcohol tolerance because of the
I've
Mormons.
had this.
Yes.
Mhm.
So they have a low
Wasatch.
alcohol tolerance.
Yes.
So everything in Utah, if you buy beer, they taste really good because they don't have a huge alcohol content. Like I think it's going to be under 9%. Like 9 is the highest that they can go. So they really focus on the taste of beers. In fact, I'm very fascinated when I meet someone who's drunk in Utah. I'm like, how? How much money do you have to be able to get intoxicated in this town? But believe me, the reason why I say that is it's something you wouldn't take serious, like Coins of Judas. Oh, you're looking at it's kind of silly. We've got little kid demons, but it's when you drink it, you're like, oh, that's really interesting. Someone took the time and effort to put it. They put this cool label on it. They put the stuff, and then it has substance and weight to it when you drink.
All right, great pairings.
That's
Love
cool. Yeah, it's apparently technically a porter,
Oh,
but leaning towards a milk stout profile as it's described. So there you
Which
go.
are honestly, IPA is just urine. I don't believe anyone actually authentically enjoys IPA. They've just decided to drink the Kool-Aid.
Right. It's the small craft style of beer that
disgusting.
like everyone may. So
I don't want to fuck up your sponsorship, but Sam Adams, get your shit together. All right. These Christmas packs having 2 IPAs in it is unacceptable. They are still in my fridge from Christmas. I don't leave Sam Adams beers in my fridge. You know why? Because they're an IPA, and I'm waiting for some young under 30 to come into my house and go, look, you like this garbage. Because anyone who is my real true age would never drink that crap. So they'd be like, we know you have a Guinness.
I'm not a huge beer guy, but I have to say, if I'm ranking beers, a brown ale, an oatmeal stout, that's all. That's there. Everything else is piss water.
That's funny. Isn't IPAs what Sam Adams was known for originally, though?
I think the original like mix, but then they learned how to make beers better, Dave. We have evolved as human beings.
But they're still but this is our OG brand, man. So IPAs are
popular. It's very popular.
It is very popular.
But no one actually enjoys it.
I was gonna say, everyone we keep meeting agrees with Dallas every time he starts shitting on IPAs. I've had so few IPAs in my life, I have no real opinion yet.
They are
on
just piss water. That is a billion-dollar industry.
I drink so little beer. I will go off recommendations and give it a shot. I'll see if I can track down this Polygamy Stout because that's just fun, one way or the other.
It's a whole brand too. If you look them up, there's a whole brand of mockery beers mocking the state that they live in.
Yes, there's I've got a tab open now. I right next to the StreamYard. So I went looking for it while you and Dallas were talking, but I was like, oh yeah. Let's see if I can find it.
I'd have to ask my wife, but I'm pretty sure we saw it at Total Wine once, and we were like, oh yeah, we bought that beer. We were in Utah.
Yeah. I'm sure we have Total Wine, Bevmos, blah 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 blah. So we'll find it.
You know, there used to be a Gibb. There used to be a Gibb beer. There was a company in.
Sorry, I heard Ghibli, and I was like, a what?
No, Gibb. It was in North Carolina. It was a Gibb beer brand. They made great beers.
Interesting.
My wife and I had it for our wedding anniversary, which was really nice.
Nice.
We got some, and then they went out of business. So I'm not sure what that means, but it makes sense.
Good stuff.
Well, you're the Gibb that outlasted them.
Thank you.
There you go. All right, guys. This has been another Wine and Comics Pairing Show. Once again, Coins of Judas, the collected editions by Band of Bards and Travis Gibb, is on Kickstarter until April 6th. So go check it out. Get it. You got 3 weeks to do it. They're almost funded and only 100 copies of the hardcover. And don't forget that $250 tier where you get everything from Band of Bards for life, and they're doing really well. I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. So, yeah, check that out. All right. Any last words, Travis, or are we good?
No, we're good.
All right.
We're good,
guys.
Peace out, everybody. We will see you next time. Just so everyone knows, next week we are technically off. We're taking a break for 1 week, but we will be back with 3 whopping shows the week after. So we will see you then. Take care, and we'll see you on the interwebs otherwise.